Looks like we live once again on another Purge of the BS. Thank y'all for stopping in, stopping by, and stopping through. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe to the channel so you can jump into the chat, have a conversation with us. This interesting episode, we're gonna come through and talk about a couple of really interesting things in the world of entertainment, some legal battles, and the state of education, along with Ted Cruz talking about giving everybody $1,000 for the babies. And of course, Donald Trump receiving the historic gift that he got from the Middle East and Qatar, Saudi Arabia. So we're gonna talk about it. Is it a bribe? Is there something to be expected? How are people feeling? We got a couple of things to cover. So because this is the Purge of the BS, I must give them the disclaimer. Please stand by.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of another Purge of the BS, sanctioned by the First Amendment. Frustration levels 0 to 100 have been authorized for use during this purge. All weapons are restricted. Government officials have not been granted immunity from the Purge of the BS and shall undoubtedly receive the smoke. Commencing at the sound of the gong, any and all BS, especially unnecessary goofiness, will be purged without prejudice. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be available, but they will be busy because they too will be watching the Purge of the BS. Blessed be those who have already been victims of some BS. May God be with you all.
All right, y'all. All right, y'all. All right. Calm down in the back. Calm down. Everybody calm down. Everybody calm down. So welcome to another Purge of the BS, guys, and thank you very much for stopping in. Special shouts to my early mods in the spot. IMZ, Albon, thank you guys for coming on in nice and early. Making sure that the mod squad is ready, just in case the trolls stop by. So I know that we had an interesting episode the other day. We were talking about people being of a certain age and promoting certain things, and maybe certain things are beyond their time. And I wanted to get started today with a pretty interesting story that some of y'all may have heard of, some of y'all may not have heard of, but I think we should check it out, because I'm going to say this. I made a mention of Halle Berry and her situation and her being too old to be advertising lube. But much to the pleasure of the United States, recently another older woman decided to do a Sports Illustrated Swimsuit issue. Now, I will say this. The choice for this did not leave much to be desired. So guys, I'm going to bring y'all over here. For anybody that can appreciate this, Salma Hayek did Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. I'll be honest, I haven't purchased the swimsuit issue in who knows how long, like almost forever. My dad used to get them, and I used to get them that way, but I never really had a Sports Illustrated membership. But I do always check out the swimsuit issue when I can. But in this one, they brought a legend. They brought Salma Hayek in here. So y'all got to check this out. Hold on. So you may or may not be able to see this over here. Pay no attention to the stupid advertisement over here on the side. But here's Salma Hayek at almost 60 years old doing the Sports Illustrated cover here. Now, here's the funny part and why I wanted to bring this up. I'm all about being age appropriate and celebrating aging and things like that. And I will say this, Salma Hayek has aged very well. But the funny part of it is, because of the world that she lives in, this beautiful woman right here was literally having like stage fright, feeling like she wasn't pretty enough. And it bothered me. I was like, what? Salma Hayek's been, or at least I thought, she's been one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood for a couple decades, few decades, right? Come to find out, she didn't really feel that way about herself. It was like people looked at her a certain way, and she didn't see herself as pretty as we thought she was. So I guess that's why she always seemed humble. You know, a lot of times the really pretty women are not that humble. Salma Hayek always seemed to be kind of humble, and the reason why was because she had what she calls imposter syndrome. And it's basically, I had to look this up because I didn't know what imposter syndrome was. But apparently imposter syndrome is when a person feels like people think that they're better than they feel that they are. And so it feels like fake to them, like they feel fake to themselves. That's very self-aware is what I'll say. She's very self-aware. But anyway, the 58-year-old actress, who's also a model and producer, as we can imagine, has now joined athletes and a couple others on the swimsuit cover. And I will say this, I don't know how many other 58-year-old women have been on the swimsuit cover of Sports Illustrated. This is basically a 60-year-old woman right here, okay? So it is definitely a statement to body positivity, keeping yourself together, and humility. Because if this woman thinks that she's not pretty, and maybe it's because of her being, I guess, prettier back in the day, but she says in the interview that she always felt like that. She always thought that people thought more of her than she thought of herself. Now, some people are going to say she's crying out for attention or whatever, but does she really need attention? She's happy with life. She's not caught up in no scandals. She's not in no Diddy cases. Like, what does she really need other than, you know, a couple dollars from Sports Illustrated? And I would venture to say this will be one of the higher paid or higher sold, as far as numbers, editions for swimsuit. I'm going to just be honest. I'd buy that. And I hate to say it, for a 60-year-old woman, man, she is giving some of these 20-year-olds a run for their money. Like, keep it together. Keep it together is all I'm saying. So she has a couple of different pictures on here, but I was hoping they would get into, yeah, they're just talking about how pretty she is. She had to lose a lot of weight. But yeah, that's 60. 60. So what it has done is it has brought in an interesting kind of a conversation to say, is this body positivity, or are we doing something more like a attention grab? But I don't feel like it's an attention grab because Salma Hayek's always been pretty. So any picture she's in is gonna definitely look flattering to her because she looks great. But I think it's a significant milestone against ageism. Like, you feel like you lose it at what, 30, 40 years old? This woman's almost 60 and she still got it. Strongly still has it. Now, the cool thing was she went back to Mexico to do the photo shoot. She did she promoted a particular designer. Like, wouldn't you want to be the designer that put Salma Hayek's suit together for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue? That's awesome. And it's not just a personal achievement for her, but it's kind of a cultural achievement because of that whole imposter syndrome. Because when you think about it, you always assume that somebody who's that gorgeous is just overly confident, overly cocky, totally narcissistic to a degree. You assume that. And it's like this thing that comes along with the crazy versus pretty scale and all that kind of stuff. But I really feel like that should reach out to some people who are feeling certain type of way about yourself. Hell, if Salma Hayek wasn't, you know, actually feeling like she was the best looking thing since sliced bread, at least, especially in the 90s. Oh my goodness. When Dusk Till Dawn came out, like, if you've ever seen that movie, oh my goodness. And so now here she is at 60, still taking care of herself. I don't know if she had any work done. She probably did, but whoever did the work did good work because she still looks the same. She looks like an older version of her younger self. And that's beautiful to me. So for any ladies that are watching this, age gracefully, take care of yourself. It's never too late to be on the front cover of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, even at almost 60 years old. So pretty much the sky's the damn limit, you know? And I think that, for body positivity, let's just be real. This is a nice body, not some, super overweight person, and we're trying to be inclusive. Let's be real. This is a beautiful 60-year-old woman, and if you're 60 years old and you look like that, God bless you. You understand what I'm saying? And for the rest of us, maybe we should be making that a goal to look that good at 60. Because I've seen some other 60-year-olds that were Hollywood types, and I don't know if it was the drugs or what, but they don't look the same. They don't look like the older version of their beautiful self. This looks like the older version of a beautiful. So special shouts to Salma Hayek for her Sports Illustrated cover. I just wanted to just wanted to give that shout real quick. Women, this looks great at 60. I don't know who did it, and I don't care. I'm just saying we should shoot for that, and we should be supportive of this, especially if you look like this. That's all I'm saying. I know a lot of people are like, he's being misogynistic. Look, she's a beautiful woman. I can't say that. Bunch of damn softies. Anyway, let me keep moving. No, I'm gonna tell you, man. You mentioned Desperado. Oh my goodness, boy. Whew. And see, that's if you're right at 20 or 21, 22, and you keep yourself together. Oh my goodness, you'll look like that at 60. Just the older, more seasoned version of your young, beautiful self. And that's what we all should be going for, is aging gracefully and willingly. Because a lot of times in today's world, a lot of us don't get to age. A lot of us don't even get to make it out of 18 to 20 something. There's so much craziness that goes on around here. And so let me move into our next stara. See what we got. What's second? Oh, we're just going to jump right into it. Okay, let's see where we're going here. Sure. Yeah, I guess we're going right into that. All right, guys. Well, I don't know if you've been following this recent case regarding Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez was accused of shooting Meg Thee Stallion in the foot. And for most people in the public, there was always some gray area to like kind of what was going on as far as the stories. It was just, there was a lot of questions, and rightfully so, because it's the legal process. So sometimes you got to take it all in, pause. So I'm just going to go over some recent developments that have come out, and I want to ask the question here of whether or not you believe that if someone lies and someone else goes to jail and then something happens to that person in jail, should the person who lied to get them in jail be held liable for what happened to them in jail? That's the question I have, but I want to go over the update here because it's very important to understand that Tory Lanez was just attacked and stabbed 14 times just a couple days ago. Literally the day before this new evidence was released. And the guy that did this, pretty random. He was a lifer. So first of all, why you got Tory Lanez in there with life guys, maximum security life prisoners, who are probably in there for something very violent if they got life for it? It's almost like, you're putting this guy in a place where eventually something's going to happen. You think he's going to spend 15 or 10 years there and nothing's going to happen when you're surrounded by murderers? It's a dangerous situation for him to be in. And the reason why I'm asking my question is it seems like there was some evidence and some miscarriages of justice, as they would call it, that may have actually led to him getting sentenced. And it seems like there might be a reason for an appeal. So I'm going to go over the clip. His legal team stepped on. He did a press conference yesterday, and I just thought that y'all should take a quick listen to a couple minutes of it, just so you can hear the new evidence that they found. So bring this on over here. Second. Sorry, guys. I had to bring the clip up first. There we go. All right, now granted, I'm not gonna play this whole thing because it's actually a pretty long interview, but I'll skip to the parts that I can figure out here. All right, let's see what we got. Hopefully it doesn't try to...
husband and others.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Mr. Peterson, I'm sorry, Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-conflict disclosure agreement or...
All right, this is a good place to start. So basically the security guard that was protecting, I guess, Meg Thee Stallion, this other person that was there, whose name I can't remember right now, but he's going to mention it, and Tory Lanez is the person who's released this information to say that he does not believe that Tory Lanez shot Meg Thee Stallion in the foot, and according to the guy, Tory Lanez may have never actually had a gun. So he's talking about his interview with the security guard. I believe the security guard's name was Peters.
...or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People.
I'm gonna speed it up a little bit.
He was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times. Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down.
All right, Peterson is Tory Lanez. Miss Harris is the other girl that was there with Meg Thee Stallion. So basically, Meg Thee Stallion's friend is the Harris person. I'm trying to bring y'all up to speed if you don't know the characters, especially the Tory Lanez. I didn't know what his name was, but his name's like Day something Peterson. But anyway, continuing.
And the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Ms. Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Miss Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken and again, simply not given to the defense? We don't know. It should have been taken. It is Unite the People's understanding, regular LAPD practice at a crime scene like that, anybody who's there, the DNA is taken. Another irregularity. Why, at Ms. Harris's police interview, was a non-lawyer, non-family member, record company executive allowed to participate? A highly irregular situation. Normally, we see cases, strangers are not allowed in these things, but it was in this case. All of these things point to the highly irregular nature of his trial and his conviction. It is our contention that he was wrongly convicted.
Uh-oh.
And while we at first were willing to let the process play out, it is our contention now that if he is not pardoned or released promptly, he may never come out. And that would be the ultimate injustice, is that he gets killed in prison for something he did not do. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mr. Gianno Caldwell, the media member who was working on that op-ed for the New York Post. Thank you.
All right, so real quick, just to recap. So basically, the security guard said that 2 women were fighting. The guys tried to break it up. The gun went off, which is not quite the story of Meg Thee Stallion, who was talking about Tory Lanez was shooting at her, talk about you better dance and all that, like it's the old Wild Wild West, and accidentally shot her pinky toe off, like it's freaking Harlem Nights. That was the story that was told. Now, granted, I wasn't there for the whole case, but they found him guilty for some reason. And it would be a little interesting if that was all a lie. Like, it's one thing to say, yeah, I don't know who fired, and then it's like, yeah, he was firing it, and I got hit accidentally. But she made it seem like this man was aiming for her and trying to shoot at the ground to, like, mess with her. And it looks more like the friend was trying to shoot Meg Thee Stallion, and Tory Lanez was trying to stop it. And somehow, I guess they collaborated together to say, let's blame Tory Lanez for it. And then somehow the record company is getting access to the court hearings where normally they shouldn't be doing that. So that's, I don't know. But I want y'all to focus on the first question that I asked before I brought the clip up regarding what happened to him a couple days ago. He got stabbed 14 times, 2 collapsed lungs. He's in intensive care right now. He's lucky to be alive. That happened as a result of him being in jail. If he was placed in jail, I'm not even going to say accidentally, let's say under false pretenses because a story was told by somebody, and that story is what landed him in jail, and then he almost gets killed in jail, I feel like that person should have some responsibility for what happened to the other person in jail. I believe they should be brought up on charges. I believe if they find out that this story, the secondary story that we're now hearing, is actually the truth, I believe Meg Thee Stallion should be facing charges for, I don't want to call it attempted murder, but we can just call it gross negligence. We can start with that. Perjury, of course, but perjury is a goofy one. They don't really mess with nobody with perjury. They just scold them in court, and that's about it. But there should be some level of responsibility that people have for putting false charges on folks. I've seen it enough times, and I'm only speaking from the guy's perspective, but I've seen enough times where a woman puts some fake charges on a dude, and it either messes up his reputation, at least for the time that the case is going on. And then even when you're found not guilty and stuff, sometimes people still like, maybe he did it and just, the legal loopholes got him out. It doesn't mean he's innocent. It just means that they couldn't convict him. There's plea deals. There's all types of stuff where people can still feel like you did something, but you never actually found guilty of it. So just the inference that this happened is enough to totally mess up your career. And right now, Tory Lanez is not making any music. And he obviously had a contract with a record company to whom he's responsible for making music. So he's also probably going in debt over that. So there's a monetary thing attached to that. You see what I'm saying? So for me, if they can find this to be true, what's been said so far, I believe Meg Thee Stallion should have charges. And I stand on that. Y'all ladies, he might have been abusive in another way. I don't know. But you said that he did one thing and he didn't do it, and they put him in jail. You need to be put in jail then. If that's what happened, if you just came up with a different scenario than what actually happened, it's one thing to embellish a scenario, but keeping the semblance of truth, right? It's a whole nother thing when you come up with a completely different scenario than what actually happened. And then you got to stick to that lie. She done interviews. She has just slandered this man's name all over the internet and all over the news for the last 2 years over this incident. So if it was a lie, she should be brought up on charges. I'm not playing. I'm tired of these people, not just women, but mostly women, putting charges on people that ain't really true. Just because they're mad about whatever. I'm still not even sure what she would have been mad about at the time. But nonetheless, let me let Giano, whatever his name is, come up. I remember this guy. He's a black guy.
Thank you, Walter.
From New York.
Good morning.
So,
thank you for coming today. My name is Giano Caldwell. That is spelled Gianno. Caldwell, Caldwell.
I met this dude once. I just can't remember where.
I am the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety at caldwellinstitute.org. I am also a member of the press for almost a decade now. I've been looking into Daystar Peterson's case for almost 6 months now, professionally known as Tory Lanez. And after reviewing the evidence, the reporting, and the legal analysis, I've come to the conclusion that Tory Lanez was railroaded by the former district attorney, George Gascon. He was also wrongly convicted. I believe if Jesus Christ was Tory Lanez's attorney, George Gascon would do whatever in his power to ensure that Tory Lanez lost that case. Tory Lanez's defense team have alleged the withholding of exculpatory evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, among other issues that I was compelled to write an opinion piece for the New York Post. It is true that last week, the New York Post editors reached out to 3 parties, one being George Gascon, Megan Pete's team and Kelsey Harris. It is also true that Megan's team was the only ones that responded back for that request for comment. I had some glaring questions, and that was the reason for this op-ed. Things didn't make any sense to me, many issues in this case, and I was shocked by the lack of interest from the media to ask very simple questions. There were multiple people with gunshot residue on their hands that night. Why didn't all individuals have the residue tested, their DNA tested on the weapon?
It's a good question.
That's a legitimate question. According to the prosecution, Tory was excluded from the clip of the gun, and according to Tory's defense team, they said DNA analysis showed that there was a 0.01% chance that Tory touched the actual gun itself.
0.01 chance that he actually touched the gun himself. Oh, special shouts to Sebastian Pelega jumping in the chat there. I know the notifications have been messed up. YouTube is trying to kill this channel, but we staying alive over here. Staying alive. But nonetheless, 0.01 chance. That's like the chances of getting pregnant on birth control. Pretty slim chance. So if his chance was that slim that he actually had the gun, then why wasn't anybody else tested? These are good questions. I'm going to let this guy continue. See, I didn't know these details. I went with Meg's story. It was all on the news. And Tory Lanez was saying, I didn't do that. But I never really heard his counter story. Like, did he tell the story as the security guard said? Like, yo, she was trying to shoot her. She was the one that did this, and that. And I was trying to stop her. And now I don't know why these women are trying to say I did it. Like they coming together to come against me. That's what apparently is going on. So I'm going to let Gianno Caldwell do his thing. But basically, if you don't know, Tory Lanez is currently serving, I want to say 10 years for this. For shooting Meg Thee Stallion's pinky toe off. Now, granted, they put the pinky toe back on, but she can't wear open-toe heels right now. None of that. Timberlands is what she's gonna do. So, nonetheless, I'll let Gianno. Like I said, I met this dude somewhere. I just can't remember where it was. Somewhere in like Baltimore, D.C. He was doing something, and it was like I want to say a convention or something. He was speaking there. So. This guy's all right with me. Gianno Caldwell, he's all right with me. I'm going to look him up, see if I can get him on the show sometime. Seems like he would have some really good perspectives.
Another piece that stood out to me, the call that the prosecution alleged Tory made confessing to a crime. I listened to that call. I'm sure many of you have as well. I didn't hear a confession. But what really shocked me about it is if my best friend was shot maliciously by someone just 2 or 3 hours before, I wouldn't have answered the call, or if I did, I wouldn't calmly have a conversation with the individual of it. And certainly, I would ask, why did you shoot my friend? And more importantly, I would never have given you my current location out of fear of you finishing the job. That was something that stood out to me. I also, in my op-ed, discussed Kelsey Harris pleading the Fifth Amendment. She wasn't accused of anything by Megan Pete or the police, and to my knowledge, she wasn't under any investigation.
These are good questions.
So why plead the Fifth?
Yeah, why plead the Fifth?
Also shocked me is the prosecution gave her immunity. For what?
Immunity for what?
What did she do? Is there an allegation of her doing something? I'm not aware of that. Maybe some of you can answer that question today. During the time of trial, George Gascon, just to take you back to where we were at that particular point, he had just barely won a recall attempt. He lost support in many key demographics of voters. Crime was up in Los Angeles County. And this case would have been a silver bullet for him potentially winning. His policies obviously were bad and people were harmed. So that didn't happen, and thank God it didn't happen. At the heart of this injustice is the misuse of gun enhancement charges, a sentencing tool intended for the most dangerous and violent offenders. In Tory Lanez's case, these enhancements were not supported by evidence. But George Gascon, interestingly enough, who is someone who regularly would drop enhancements or not recommend them, chose to provide enhancements to Tory. And in his case, in any given situation, according to legal analysts I've spoken with, he would do 1 or 3 years if he did it without the enhancement. That's interesting. Why did George Gascon choose to pursue these enhancements?
Yes, good question.
You know, there's cases I've been looking through which George Gascon has pursued, many in which he utilized these enhancements. A couple come to mind that I would like to reference here. One, Raymond Danger Gonzalez, a Mexican mafia gang member involved in a premeditated murder of 2 young men in 2017. Despite the brutality of the crime, Gascon did recommend enhancements. You premeditated murdered a teenager and another individual. Brutal crime. Why would you recommend enhancements, but you would recommend them for Tory? That doesn't make a lot of sense. He also didn't pursue sentencing enhancements for the senseless murder of General Hospital actor Johnny Victor in Los Angeles in 2024. There's a lot of issues with this case. Many I think that the media should be pursuing all angles of it. We should not allow there to be unanswered questions. We should pursue open questions without fear or favor to anyone. That includes Mr. Tory Lanez. In his letter from the Birmingham jail, Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." If we take those words seriously, we must act when injustice is allowed to fester in plain sight. I founded the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety after my innocent teenage brother was murdered in Chicago on June 24, 2022. I stand firmly for public safety, for victims' rights, and for holding criminals accountable. But justice also demands that we protect the innocent and stand against politically motivated prosecutions.
Okay. So like I said, if you guys want to get the whole video, you want to see the entire thing, I will put the link in the description. But it's about an hour long. I think there's a Q&A towards the end of it. But I think we need to have a discussion about this just really quickly, because at what point are we supposed to trust the justice system? There's money being thrown around. There's superstars. There's presidents. There's all types of people coming and going in this legal system. But the regular guys are sitting at the jail. Like the regular dudes that don't have all of this are sitting in the jail. But how do you get the police to orchestrate something like this? How do you get the judge to orchestrate something like this? It's because I have this rational mind, and to me that doesn't make sense. Like, why would someone do that for Tory Lanez or to Tory Lanez? Tory Lanez wasn't known for being a gangster. You know, he talked his stuff in music, but he wasn't really known for like fighting, and he didn't even have any prior violent crimes. I think he might have had a possession of something crime before, but he had no violent priors at all. And he got the book thrown at him over what seems like it may have been an embellished, if not totally fabricated story. That's sad to me. Remember the other episode we were talking about value in human life and black life, right? And if black people don't value each other, then how can we expect other people to value black people, right? And it sounds like if this is true, it basically is just like an angry ex being bitter, coordinated with her homegirl, and got this dude locked up for 10 years. And to me, that is absolute diabolical work. But what's more diabolical than the work itself is the fact that it can happen, as you can see. His word versus their word, and their word won. And now the security guard who was like, yo, I was there, and this is what happened. And that story lined up more with the fact that the shots came from the passenger side of the vehicle. Because I guess Tory Lanez either wasn't on the passenger side, maybe he was driving, but he wasn't where the shots apparently originated from. So the story never lined up really well to me, but I'm trying to get people to, well, Sebastian, do you know who Meg Thee Stallion is? And honestly, you know what? The characters don't really matter much in this. It's the principle. If a person tells the police that you shot at them and you didn't shoot at them, and then they take it all the way to court, they're on NBC, they're on CBS doing all these interviews, just slandering your name. You are the worst monster in the world. You shot me in the foot, you dirty bastard. And come to find out your homegirl did it, and y'all just conspire to put it all on him? That's just diabolical work. So like I said, regardless of who the characters are, that principle in and of itself is the problem. Is that people really feel like, what do they call it? Lawfare is a real thing that should be available. And I'm sick and tired of that shit, because it makes it hard to believe the people who really going through something. Every time we jump on a story and we're jumping on this Me Too type of shit, we get dragged into something, and then come to find out later it was totally a lie, it was totally wrong. Remember Amber Heard? And it's like the story repeats itself over and over and over again. So a lot of times I don't say nothing unless I got some video evidence like the Diddy video. That's okay. We can definitely see that he did that. So if she says that's what he did at that time, we got video evidence that says the same. But it's hard to just believe people's word these days because a good story sounds good. And if they coordinate the story correctly, they can obviously put what could be an innocent man in jail for 10 years. And while he's in jail, just the other day, he gets stabbed 14 times by a lifer inmate who's in there for a violent crime. And this person had no previous violent crimes until he was sentenced for this. First of all, he's in the wrong place. He's not going to make it. That's Tory Lanez in general population with murderers. How long do you think that's going to last before he gets hurt? Oh, sorry, it already happened. And I don't even know how long he's been in jail, but it ain't been that long since they did the sentencing. That was probably late last year. I'd say maybe 6 to 8 months. And if that happens once, what you think is not going to happen again? You think that person or somebody who knows that person ain't going to try to finish the job? So now what, you got to put him in protective custody for the next 6 years? Or however long he has left on this sentence? No, I think they need to do what this Gianno Caldwell guy is talking about. They need to look into this a little deeper. If they did something wrong, they should be held accountable for it. But also, Meg Thee Stallion should be held accountable for it. If she lied and got this man locked up and he got stabbed up, she should be liable for him being stabbed up and should face charges for that. Tell me I'm wrong. If I lie on somebody and they get sent to jail, and while they're in jail, something bad happens to them, it should be the responsibility of the person that got them sent to jail. Because a lot of people don't even think about that shit. They're just trying to get back at somebody for whatever reason. They're angry about something. They just want to get back, and they get back any way they can. And for some reason, with people of the melanin, it always seems to involve the police. You know, for a group of people that claim they can't stand the police, they love locking a Negro up. Claim they can't stand the police, but quick to call them on a dude who may or may not have even done what you're saying he did. I've seen women literally punch themselves in the face so they could tell the police that they man punched them and get him locked up. Absolute diabolical work. So if we don't start pressing charges on these people, then that is what's going to continue, and it's going to put possibly innocent people in danger. If Tory Lanez was innocent of that crime and he got sentenced to 10 years and then been stabbed up, you can't get none of that time back. You can't get none of those experiences back. He ain't never going to be the same. He's going to have PTSD and some more stuff. And we don't know what else is going on in that jail, but we do know somebody stabbed him up 14 times and collapsed both his lungs. He is lucky to be alive. And this could be all over a lie? Yo, I'm going to tell you what, if they find this to be true, that lie to be true, Meg Thee Stallion should finish out Tory Lanez's time. However much time he got left, Meg should go do that. And maybe not in maximum security prison with a bunch of murderers. That's a bad idea. But she should have to do that time and know what it feels like. Because a lot of times the ones that be throwing time out like that, calling the police and lying to them, are people that have never really been to jail before. If they've ever been there like overnight. If you've done 30, 60, 90 days, you know, not years, but just a significant enough amount of time where a bill will not get paid and you could possibly get evicted, things like that. Like things will disappear. So you need at least a month or so for that. And if you do that kind of time, you have a different concept on it. I don't believe that you should allow people to be running around here lying on folks and putting them in jail. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody needs to be held to account. And I'm not just talking about Meg Thee Stallion. I'm talking about the friend that shot her. I'm talking about the judge that wouldn't allow certain evidence to be in. I'm talking about the police who didn't do their due diligence by testing everybody for GSR when they showed up to a shooting and they were all in the same vehicle. Like everybody, prosecutor, for prosecuting some BS, because he probably already knew it was some BS. The defense team for not getting their evidence or having their evidence suppressed so that they couldn't use this kind of stuff earlier. Everybody needs to be held to account. But most importantly, Tory Lanez needs to be set free. And that's all I got to say about that. Done with these guys. I swear, man. I get so tired of this. I get so tired of watching the debauchery. All right, so if you're new to the channel, man, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe. Jump in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Sebastian, Al, IMZ, everybody that's still in here. I know that the notifications haven't been going out, so it's up to y'all as the Purge Collective to help the channel continue to grow. Make sure you're sharing the live. Make sure you're commenting when you see the shorts come across your feeds. Just make sure you stay active with the show so that when YouTube finally opens the gates back up for us, we're ready to roll. So I'm going to get into the next segment here because we got to keep it moving. Got to keep it moving. And I wanted to apparently there's been I'm going to address something very quickly, but I want to take it into a bigger topic. There's been this term called black fatigue thrown around lately, and it's basically a term to describe liberals and white people being tired of black people being the victims. And I don't mean that like they're tired of it happening. They're tired of black people being or having a victim mentality and always trying to hold them to account for things that they may have not been alive for, that their ancestors may or may not have done. But they're basically throwing this terminology around called black fatigue, but they're using it, and a lot of the content creators are using it to basically piss off black people. And that's the part that's kind of like, well, no, they're pissing off black people by using the term and considering that for white people. So white people are tired of black people. It's pretty much what black fatigue is. But I just want to be honest. Has anybody talked about black people who have black fatigue? Black people who are tired of the goofiness? You know? Has anybody done that? I don't think so.
Trade break.
Give me 1 second here. So I'm going to tell you right now, I have Negroid fatigue. I'm not tired of black people. I love my black people. I love the melanated group. I love the way that we can get together. I love us. But there are definitely some rotten apples that may be spoiling the bunch. And I'm believing that it starts at home, continues at the school, and then continues out into the world into a pipeline of prison, jails, drug addiction, dysfunction, fatherless homes, you name it, it's all starting early. So this next segment, I wanted to get into a teacher who decided to quit educating because of what she saw in her students. But before I get to her clip, I want to remind you to like and subscribe to the channel. And I also wanted to get into some of the kids that she may be talking about. So some of this stuff is funny, if you want to call it funny. But if you think about it, it's also sad. Like at the same time as being funny, it's also sad. So you guys may not know who Drewski is. You know who Drewski is? Drewski's, I want to say he's a comedian or an actor, but he's a content creator. He's kind of all over the place. He's a funny guy. He's done a little TV kind of thing. And he's got this TV show that's sort of like a reality show where he runs this so-called record label. And it's normally pretty funny. And they put a clip up recently of a group of kids from Baltimore. And I wanted to show y'all this clip so we can get started about this education situation. Y'all can see it.
What's the youngest nigga here?
My man's Killer.
Caleb?
Killer.
Oh, Killer.
Yeah, man. Northeast.
What's that again? What's that? You?
Stand over him.
Oh, okay. How old is he?
13.
All right, 13. Killer.
Yeah, Killer.
All right, how old are you?
14.
14. What they call you? Murder?
That's bro over here.
Oh, that's his
bro
name.
right there. I'm Murder. Yeah, man.
Murder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what's your name?
Lesty.
Lester? Why the fuck they call you Lester at all? Killer, Murder, and Lester?
What, bro?
I see why you ain't got no ski mask. You don't need one. Pussy. Lester.
Northeast niggas know what's going on.
Oh, my bad. All right, y'all rap?
I'm a hot one to beat you, you know I'm a drag. Down for the body, you know I'm a spaz. Glock 22 hit him, Glock
When
22.
you say, hey, Glock 22.
Glock 22 went right in his
Hey,
head.
don't do that.
Now, y'all know he was actually making fun of the Baltimore accent, and they didn't catch it. That was actually pretty interesting. They didn't catch he was making fun of their accent, and they decided to tell him, no, man, we got switches. Anyway, Drewski's laughing, and I'm sort of laughing because I can see where the comedy is, but the satire is the fact this is real. This is really how kids are acting. Like, first of all, why are you 12, 13 years old and anybody's calling you killer? Who are you doing this to? And why are you doing this? And then you got Murder. The other kid, Lester, that's funny to me that his parents named him Lester in the first place. That's enough to make you a killer. Let's just start with that. But it's so sad, but also so accurate. So let's
Hit you with a binary
me,
trigger with a
man.
switch on the back. That
My
shit.
bad. My
Don't
bad, big
interrupt
bro.
me, let me spit.
Hey, let me just preach to y'all youngins, man. Hey.
We ain't trying to hear none of that, Holmes.
That's true. He ain't trying to hear none of that.
We don't want to hear that.
Yeah, my bad.
We want to slide every day.
You got it, big bro.
Every
But you know, in
second
the
of the
streets,
day.
it's just either jail or death. I don't want y'all to go down that path.
I already went to juvie.
The law not catching me.
I'm gonna shut my bitch ass up then. You got it, big bro. Yeah, just
I'm on the run right now. As we speak.
Niggas do what's up.
All right, big bro. You got it, big dog. Let's just get him out of here. I'm trying to preach to the streets. I ain't.
All right.
Sorry, y'all. Let's get him out. Guys, they're kids. Guys, they're 13. They're 13, man. They ain't got. Y'all breathing hard and shit. What happened back there? What?
So, nonetheless, like I said, the satire is funny, but that's real. Those are real kids. That's really how kids be acting. And not just in Baltimore. They happen to be from Baltimore. And I can at least confirm, because I've been to Baltimore a number of times in my life, I can confirm that they seem like some regular Baltimore kids. They definitely exhibited the standard Baltimore inner city, because Baltimore does have a county area that's not so bad. But even the county kids are bad because they're trying to impress the city kids. That's where the problem comes in. The county kids in Baltimore County kids, they trying to impress the city kids because the city kids is gangster. And the county kids just live around the gangsters, right? So they want to prove to the gangsters that they gangster. You want to prove something? Go build a rocket. You know what I'm saying? Go invent some shit. Prove that. It doesn't take much to prove that you can be an idiot. It actually takes little work. It doesn't take much to prove that you can get arrested, locked up, or killed. Doesn't take a lot. So you ain't got nothing to prove, little man. Nothing. But this is ridiculous, guys. This is the future. This is our kids. We did it. And they telling us now that we can't discipline them or nothing. We can't tell them nothing. Crazy. So I'm going to bring you a secondary clip, and then we're going to get into the educator. Because I thought it was just these Baltimore kids. No. It's all over the place. It's real. Check this out.
Is all I care about. I don't want to go to school. Hats is all I care about. I don't want to go to school. Damn.
So you think that's right?
I don't care.
What about people and their mamas missing their mamas?
That ain't got nothing to do with me, bro. All I want is hats and switches.
Accidentally hitting
What is I'm learning
people?
in school? I'm not learning nothing in school, bro.
Okay, but you gotta think about the innocent lives y'all taking at the same time.
Who is y'all? Why are you trying to give me book? Who is y'all?
Are you one on here talking about hat, tat, tat, tat?
Damn, I'm not going to school. You cannot make me go to school. Ain't shit good at school. I promise it ain't. I promise.
That shit crazy that you think this is way better than going to school.
It's crazy that you keep going back and forth after I already told you what the fuck was going on and how I'm feeling,
You ain't
bro.
gonna catch no hat on me, so I don't give a fuck. I can say whatever I want to say. But like I was saying, that I just feel like personally this ain't the right thing you should do, going back and forth. And
Who is you to tell me that?
It's a never-ending cycle.
Who is you? Hats.
Wow. This kid don't look no older than 13, 14 years old. And I hate to say it, but he sounds like he has the Baltimore accent. I don't know if this is a Baltimore clip, but in listening, all I hear is he feels like he doesn't have any options. Like going to school ain't an option because ain't nothing there at the school. All he wants is hats and switches. So here's the funny thing is initially when I saw this clip, because it came across X had, they had to do like
accidentally.
What is it? The community notes, right? Let me bring it up. And so somebody put, what is catching hats and switches? So let's see what Grok came up with here. This is what Grok said catching hats and switches is. Catching hats and switches likely refers to gaming culture, where hats are collectible in-game items, like in Team Fortress, and switches mean Nintendo Switch consoles. It reflects a focus on gaming over other priorities. The impact on education is mixed. Let's see what else it's got. Excessive game. It starts talking about gaming. Grok was way off on this. Grok is like that uncle that swear he know all the new slang but be way off on it. That's what Grok just did. Catching hats and switches translated immediately to me. Now, it could be because I speak Negrinese, but it doesn't matter. How the hell it decided to tell somebody, because somebody asked the question, hey, Grok, what is this, hats and switches? Now, you're going to have this poor person walking the street talking about, hey, guys, you want to catch some hats and switches? Thinking they talk about, Dungeons and Dragons. And they're talking about gun battles and murders. Grok got to tighten it up. Tighten it up, Grok. But anyway.
I care about. I don't.
There was a very interesting piece that he said that I wanted y'all to mill over in your head. Is he said there's nothing good going on in there. Talking about his school. Nothing good going on in there. There's nothing good going on. There ain't nothing good going on in there, is what he said. Now, granted, if he's not really been to school like that, he probably doesn't like school. Most kids don't like school, but it's kind of like most people don't like going to work, but they do it because there's an outcome that they're trying to achieve. So when you don't have an option or an outcome that you're trying to achieve, school will appear to be a waste of time. I 100% agree that if you don't have any goals, you will definitely feel like going to school is a waste of time. Why I got to get up this early to go to this place for no reason in my mind? And that's what this young man is feeling. He doesn't want to go there because to him it has no value. The kids in the first clip, you think they're straight A students? Think Lester was one of the top of his class? No, because they see no value in the education at all. And us as parents, we don't see a lot of value in education these days because school done got weird. So we don't even know what half the time the kids are learning about. They come home with some new concept like, who the hell told you that? My teacher told me that. Why are they teaching you all that? What happened to math and English? They don't even learn how to do cursive anymore. Freaking ridiculous, man. But anyway, this kid looks like he's already been through it. And I'm telling you, just looking at his face, he can't be no older than 13, maybe 14 years old. This ain't no 18-year-old kid right here. Face ain't even got no fur or 5 o'clock shadow developing at all. I wonder how old this kid is, but I'm going to venture to say he's about 13 years old. He's probably a middle school kid.
You one on here talking about hat, tat, tat, tat.
Damn, I'm not going to school. You cannot make me go to school. Ain't shit good at school.
See? Ain't shit good at school. Nothing? That means his experience with school has been crap. He's probably getting in trouble. So once you start getting in trouble in school, anybody knows once you become the troublemaker, they catch you doing everything. Somebody could punch you dead in the face. They don't see that. But when you punch them back, there you go. You're suspended. So he's probably had nothing but a rough time in school. But he's also portraying what could be a resistance to authority. Sounds like the person he's talking to is an adult. The way that he's speaking to this adult is disrespectful. So I can only imagine what he would do to a teacher in a place he don't want to be. And that teacher, after a while, is not going to care. If his parents don't care, his family don't care, his community don't care, how much is that one teacher going to really do? This is not the movie Dangerous Minds and any of those movies. You know, it's all the same movie. They come to the hood, they teach the kids, then there's a dance break where everybody learns a new dance. All of it. Sister Act was another one where they went to the hood. Now, granted, the kids in Sister Act were not very hood to me, but the concept was that. So I'm going to go into this next piece because I wanted you to get an idea of the type of students that are sitting in front of these teachers. You saw Lester and Killer and Murder, and then this guy. And they're all 13 years old or so, middle school, early high school. I say middle school because they might have got held back. I'm just being real. But definitely at the most early high school. So they're kids, they're babies. Imagine you got a baby sitting in front of you that his goal is to get hats and switches, meaning to get guns and kill people. And you want him to learn about Romeo and Juliet. He ain't having it. Not trying to hear that shit. He doesn't want to sing Porgy and Bess. None of that. He's not on the choir. So this teacher comes up, and she's going viral right now because she basically decided that she is going to quit being a teacher due to one part, the students, but the second part is the introduction of technology into learning. So
very long.
Let me pause it here. So she's leaving the profession. She says the kids can no longer read proficiently. They won't pay attention. They won't listen to authority. They don't think the Declaration of Independence is important. They're writing their papers with ChatGPT. They don't know math. They don't care about history. And that is a problem. And I venture to say that the kids from our previous clips would fit right into that group. Well, I don't even know if they're using ChatGPT. They just don't do the work. Some of these kids will sit there the whole day and just not do nothing. It's like their own silent protest. I'm not going to do none of this work because I don't want to be here. And I'm not going to do the work because if you judge me on the work, which is the grade, and it's not a good grade, then I'm going to feel bad about that. Because at that point, I tried and failed. But I would rather just fail by not trying because then that doesn't mean I failed at doing it. It means I just didn't do anything. So I didn't win or lose. It's a crazy mentality, but that's really what they be thinking is if I don't do the assignment at all, then you really can't say how smart or dumb I am, is how they feel. So anyway, this lady is now going viral due to this video. She's already been on MSNBC and I want to say Fox and Friends in the last 24 to 48 hours. So that's what made me look up the video because I saw her on MSNBC. Or whatever, I want to say it was Meet the Press, whatever one it was, she was on it, she was talking. Her hair was different though. Not that her hair's bad right now, but hold up, before I press this play button, make sure that y'all press that like button. For those that are in here, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget, we come back on Saturday. We're going to do Saturday night again this week. I got another special show, bringing in a couple of my guests, some heavy hitters. To get some female perspectives, because I'm a guy. I can't give a female perspective on anything. I am not a woman. I'm not a trans woman. I'm none of those things. I'm nothing woman. I'm a guy, regular old Joe. Okay? So I bring the ladies on to get more open perspectives and allow for more conversation in the chat. So make sure you come through on Saturday night. We'll be doing it again. Me, Bricks Bravo, Genesis will be stopping through, and I have another special guest coming on as well. So for those who are the followers of the channel, thank you again for your support. And all the new people, thank y'all for stopping in.
For not very long, but I guess the last few weeks, I have been recording some rants during my planning period. I'm in a classroom right now. Go Bulldogs. And this will not be my classroom after Friday. I am actually leaving the profession. I am quitting. Well, actually, I did quit, but Friday is my last day. I think we have a month left of school after that, and I will not be the teacher in this classroom.
Damn.
I've recorded a video like this several times, but I think that instead of just completely putting, it's not even my school, but just how education is these days on blast, there is one issue I really, really, really want to talk about as an educator who is leaving, that I feel like a lot of people have tried to address, but school boards and superintendents and people who actually can make this true difference in their school districts aren't listening. I actually wrote basically what felt like an essay in my exit survey for this county. And what I really want to talk about is how technology is ruining education. So in my county.
Hold on, she said technology is ruining education, not bad parenting. Kids not paying attention or doing homework. Technology is ruining education.
Every student in the county, I believe from 6th grade through 12th grade, gets their own district or county distributed iPad. Every kid gets an iPad for the school year, and they are to turn it back in at the end of the school year, and then they get it back in August or whenever we come back. I have seen where to even begin? A lot of what I'm going to talk about is a little bit drawn from other videos I have seen, but it opened my eyes to so many things, and I have been wondering why the technology sucked so much and why I hated it. And for a while, because I'm an English teacher as of this moment right now, but before I taught English, I was in a computer lab and I taught digital arts. I taught a class called multimedia, which was to teach students how to use like word processing programs, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, and other just online tools that 6th graders need to know about. And I have taught a little bit of computer science. I'm not really computer science savvy, but it was an introductory course and I could teach them a little bit of coding. That's not the point. Point is, I thought I hated technology because kids were iPad kids growing up and they just have too much access to games and entertainment and they don't want to use technology for education. They want to use it for entertainment. And to a degree that is true, but what I am learning is more than that, and that technology is directly contributing to the literacy decrease we are seeing in this country right now. A lot of these kids don't know how to read because they have had things read to them, or they can click a button and have something read out loud to them in seconds. Their attention spans are weaning because everything is high stimulation. They can just scroll, watch less than a minute. They can't sit still for very long. Something I've realized is, like, you know, on a day, I know when I was their age, I thought movie days were a treat. I loved movie days. It was
movie days like at school. That was when I used to go to sleep during the movie. I got in trouble for that though. But I hear where she's going with this so far, and I'm just gonna say, learning how to read and sounding and understanding words is not something that technology is supposed to do. Learning communication is something that's human. It's passed from human to human. That's why we can speak. That's why when we're babies and we're goo goo gaga, our parents will keep saying certain things to us and our mouths will start to form these sounds and these words, and we understand how to communicate. So I don't believe that you should leave reading up to any technology. You might say, read this part of this book. And then you go over the concepts within the book. You go over the concepts within the writing of the book, how they use certain repetition, how they use foreshadowing, things like that. That's not stuff that the AI is going to teach. So to a degree, the technology has messed up part of the education because it's taken away the job of a lot of educators to educate. They feel like, hey, just give them the iPad and they'll figure it out. The iPad will tell them everything. And so they don't even want to teach anymore because they're not even able to keep the attention spans of the kids. because they're not, you know, as interesting as the computer doing it. But I'm going to tell you right now, writing and formulating words correctly and enunciation and things like that, that is not AI that teaches that. That is people teaching other people. Like when someone says a word wrong, we correct them and they remember that's not how you say that word. Even if you have an accent, there's certain ways that you can say and not say words. So I get what she's saying, but I want to say that it's partially the teacher's fault for letting the kids be stuck on the damn technology anyway. Just teach. Close the laptops. Here's the lesson. Put it on the projector like they used to do back in the day for us. So everybody's looking at the same thing. Ask questions, interact with the students, find out who's struggling, have a few people read out loud. Like, these concepts worked. Why they escaped from that and they got away from it, I don't know. And this is a younger teacher, so she's new to the field, in my opinion. She obviously hasn't been doing it 30 years. So she's catching the technical age of education. When I was coming up, we were just getting apples in the schools. And there was a computer lab. There was not computers in the classrooms. It was a lab we went to one day a week, like a library day, and we would go to the computer lab and do something on the computer. That was it. The technology was not teaching us stuff. It was more like a recreational activity. So that flip happened. And I want to know why. I want to know why my teachers are not being allowed to teach. Because the concept of teaching is to educate, and to educate is to educe. That's the root word of education, educe, for those that don't know. And to educe is basically like produce, right? So to educe is to bring out the best from within of something. Like if something is in front of you, you can educe that thing, and that'll bring out whatever the best thing is, the most creative thing is from that thing. That's what education is for. Education is supposed to be for you to bring out the best in the student so that the student has its way of learning. You teach that student in that way, and you bring those things up out of that student. What happened was education became more indoctrination, and they just started putting a bunch of information in. And if you don't spit out that information the same way they gave it to you, then now you're not educated, according to them. But is that really education? Education is supposed to be making me the best me, bringing out the stuff that's in my brain so that it comes out into the world, and so the rest of the population can use my brain. But that comes from educing, not inducing. So indoctrination is the induction, you're putting it in. Education is eduction, which is you're bringing it out. So if you're not educing, then you're not producing. You're just producing people that have a diploma, but they don't have any real world skills. As she said, they can't even read correctly. And if you have them read out loud, they don't even know how to pause with punctuation properly. Like when they read out loud, when they get to a period, they're just running right through it like a run-on sentence. They don't even understand the gaps in speaking and public speaking and the strength of that. So teachers, I need y'all to keep teaching. Don't do what a lot of parents did and just let the technology teach the kids. Y'all got to close that damn laptop down. This lesson is going to be handwritten and it's going to be up front. Everybody's eyes up. Put your phones down. Matter of fact, everybody sit your phones in this bin at the front of the class, and you get the phones out of that bin when you leave the class. See what I'm saying? Anyway, let me let her finish.
It was a way to relax, kind of take a break. And for them, what they mean when they say they want a movie is they want a movie on in the background for the noise while they scroll on their phones, put their headphones in, and look at TikTok, and maybe talk to their friends and not pay attention to anything. Whenever I do have a movie day, I can count on one hand the amount of students in all 3 classes that I teach throughout the day who maybe actually pay attention to the movie. It's frustrating and it's disheartening because if I ask a child to handwrite something, even just a paragraph, 5 sentences, basic paragraph, they roll their eyes, they throw tantrums. I'm talking about high schoolers. I teach 10th grade now.
Damn.
They get really, really unruly. And because I'm young too, they want to argue with me about it. And they want to say, why can't we just type it? Why can't we just type it? Well, it's because you'll go on another website or you'll copy it or use AI, you'll use ChatGPT. And I understand that our world is going in a direction where AI is going to be more prevalent
Been
in the
saying it.
workforce someday. That still doesn't take away that these are basic skills you need to survive. I think I am technically considered an older Gen Z. So I'm a 99 baby. I was born on the cusp, I think. I don't actually know the cutoff, but I do think I am mostly a Gen Z. And I think I grew up in a time when history was still important, learning what the Declaration of Independence was still important, knowing how to understand the amendments, and I'm bringing up history because this is stuff that I feel like every American needs to understand the value of. And if you can't read, and if you don't care to read or learn the vocabulary or learn your context clues, you're never going to understand it, and therefore it's never going to mean anything to you, and you're never going to have real opinions and be able to understand and formulate why laws in certain governing structures make sense, and why.
Well, hold on a second now. History is important, but let's just be real on this history thing. That's how we got messed up, was when they just started teaching one version of history: slaves, slave owners, population. So if we're going to teach history, I do believe that they should incorporate additional history. I heard way more about I heard about the Egyptians, but they presented the Egyptians as if they were just like dark tanned white people. But they were full-blown Africans. I didn't even know where Egypt was. Then I found out, I said, well, that's Africa. I thought everybody in Africa was African. But they didn't teach about anything before slavery when it came to black people. You had a couple of names that would pop up, but it was never real history. Like, there's a lot more history than Christopher Columbus bumped into the U.S. because he was drunk. The Native Americans were here. Pilgrims came afterwards, settled the land, brought slaves with them, and then set the slaves free, and here's your U.S. That's not the full history. That's the history of what happened once some people bumped into this particular land. But existence was there all before it. All we ever learn about is the Roman Empire and Greece and all of that. So history is important, but I think if we're going to teach history, we need to teach world history in the right way. And stop focusing only on one particular group's history, which, of course, this is their school system, so they're going to teach that. I'm sure if it was an all-black school system, they would teach about all these black historical figures because it would be black people's history and African people's history. So this school system that we integrated into was their school system, guys. So the history lessons were going to be based on who they wanted you to learn about, people that look like them, so that they could have the Caucasian students understand their history. So we integrated with it and didn't put up no fight and say, hey, as long as you give us a couple of streets, the shortest month of the year, and you teach us about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X every year, then we'll be fine. We don't forget the rest of history. Forget it, right? And you're right. History is written by those who were not the loser of the fight. So the loser does not get to rewrite history. The winners do. And they won in that regard, and so that's where we're at. So I'm gonna let this lady continue, but every time somebody says history, I'm like, well, whose history we talk about and what are we talking about? English as a language, how to write, how to understand, comprehend, understand context clues, I'm all for that, because it's really, books don't have to be racial per se. The writing within them can still teach a concept. But when it comes to history, they pick and choose history, and the only time they get into black history is Black History Month. And then they teach about the same 8 to 10 black people. You know, you'll hear George Washington Carver, you'll get Rosa Parks. You might get Coretta Scott King, but only because she was Martin Luther King's wife. You'll get Malcolm X. You'll get Betty Shabazz, who's Malcolm X's wife. You'll get Harriet Tubman, and if you're lucky, they'll teach you about Marcus Garvey. But they don't like teaching about Marcus Garvey because he kind of overran some stuff. He started a whole resistance. They won't teach you about Huey P. Newton, Black Panthers, that kind of stuff. They'll teach you the Black Panthers was a terrorist organization, and that's not what they were. Like, at least not the original Black Panthers. So like I said, history's that's a slippery one. But I understand what you're saying about English and math and using the AI to do the work, and they need to know how to write. Got that. But that history piece, y'all ain't teaching the right history anyway, in my opinion.
Why we have the right to vote, why this stuff is important, and I just don't think these kids even care. They don't care about making a difference in the world. They don't care about how to have a resume. They don't care how to write a resume. They don't care how to write a cover letter, because ChatGPT will just do it for them. And I think that we need to cut off technology from these kids, probably until they go to college.
Wow.
Call me old-fashioned. I will be old-fashioned, but we are at the point where I really don't have a lot of faith in some of these kids that I teach. That doesn't go for all. I have several kids across all the classes I have taught this school year alone that I think have really bright futures ahead of them and who want to succeed and who want to try really hard. And then kids who I feel like the older generations have failed them because they haven't emphasized to them enough that learning how to read and write and use basic mathematic skills is important. They haven't emphasized that to them. And so these kids just have these devices in their hands that they think will get them through the rest of their life. And they're failing in life and in my class. So if anyone who has the power to make a difference in school districts across the country, I really hope that you hear, not even just me, but the billions of teachers out there that probably feel the same way. I shouldn't say billions, maybe millions, thousands. I don't know. There's a lot of us out there who feel that way. And I just want you to look at the test scores and the literacy rates and the statistics from when students didn't use technology to now. There's nothing wrong with using your budget on textbooks and workbooks and paper copies of things again. There's nothing wrong with starting that in elementary schools and carrying it through. It might be a 20-year plan, doesn't matter. We've got to start reintegrating this. We've got to start getting rid of the technology and bringing back the things that worked. And if you've made it this far in this video and you're wondering why I'm leaving the classroom, that's a whole story for another time, but to give you a synopsis, I wasn't always a teacher. I went into teaching 3 years ago to see if this was for me. I come from a long line of teachers, and the schedule sounded appealing, and the opportunity to work with teenagers sounded appealing. I really like working with younger groups and like teaching, you know, just in general. And truly, the technology has ruined it. The behavior, which is another something that's coming from all of this, has ruined it. And my main motivator for leaving was the pay. But I think that if the experience overall had been better, I could have toughed it out with the pay. But it's just been a really poor experience. This generation is really tough, and I will admit that I'm just not cut out for it. Anyone who starts now and will be a teacher from here on out with the generation that we're teaching right now, I commend you. God bless. I wish I was stronger in that way.
All right. Well, we get what she's saying. So I got to ask you guys, do you really feel like technology ruined education? Or the fact that educators were told that the technology was now the educator? Because there's no rule against saying, hey, close the laptops, put your phones over here in the class. Like if your phone, you know, I don't want your phones ringing or nothing. If it's an emergency, in 45 minutes, somebody will let you know. That's all I'm saying. Purple Groovy, thanks for stopping in the chat. We appreciate you giving out haircuts for graduations. I got a graduate coming up next week, so I'll be enjoying that. And, you know, I can speak from that perspective in having two, well, one about to not be in high school and one that's still in high school, child, that the education system has changed. The interaction with the parents from the teachers is different. It used to be you could pop up on your students and you could really be involved in the educational process. And for some reason, at least as a parent recently, we get kind of boxed out. We've definitely been boxed out. Now, I know some of my box outedness has to do with other issues because of the relationship that I might have with my co-parent. But the school ain't my ex. So the school talking to me shouldn't be a problem regardless of how the other parent may feel, especially if the child is failing. Now, I'm talking about a straight A student. There's really not much that you can argue about. But if a child is failing and a parent wants to be involved and help out, the school should not err on the side of the beef that goes on between the parents. They should be looking for the best for the kid. So I have my own issues with schools in that regard. They don't want no problems. That's how they act now. They don't want no problems. If you're not with the other parent, which we know happens all too often these days, be prepared to have to battle it out with the school if you want to stay involved in your kid's education. That's if you don't have a working relationship with the other parent. It becomes this whole thing where they don't want to get yelled at by anybody for talking to anybody. So they'll do the bare minimum when it comes to communication just so they can kind of stay out of it. And the kids lose in that regard. They do. As an educator and an adult, if you see something that's affecting a child's education, you should be more than willing to stand up and go down for that, since you took this job of being an educator. So that's its own argument that we'll have about parental rights and custodial, non-custodial parents. I don't know if y'all even ready for those kind of conversations on the channel yet, but I would love to get into that, because that's really where a lot of this starts, is in the home. And this woman is a teacher, but she's getting the product of the home. So if the parents aren't big on education in the house, how are you expecting the kid to be big on education at the school? If we as parents say that getting D's is okay, then how can a teacher change the opinion of that child? So it does start at home. It does start at home. And unfortunately, a bunch of the parents are out there, like Al saying in the chat, a bunch of the parents think it's the school's job to do everything. And it's not. But they would much rather say, oh, the school is failing this child, than saying, I'm failing this child as a parent. And looking inward and saying, what can I do to make sure that this child is reading at a good level? Get them a book and have them read it. And say, when you're done, same thing they do in school, or used to do in school, when you're done reading this book, I'm going to quiz you on the book. And if you get things right on the quiz, here's your reward. Use the reward system. And there you go. I'm not going to say it's easy, but what I'm saying is it's not impossible. We're just not doing it. We're just not doing it. And this teacher, who looks like when she came into this thing, she had good intentions. She wanted to help out teenagers. She wanted to do this. She wanted to do that. And then she realized there's only so much she can do with the kids that she has, for whatever, 45 minutes a day, once or twice a week. And they're spending time at home in a dysfunctional home that doesn't give a damn about education. There's nothing she can do. Sad, man. It's sad. So for all the teachers out there, I agree that the pay for teachers should be higher, considering all of the money that the government and states put into the educational system. The teachers should be getting paid more. It is what it is, and I believe that if they at least do that, that would at least help the teachers. But does it help the students? Not necessarily. If the students do not come from a family that values education, their chances of valuing education are slim to none. Damn shame. It's a damn shame. So nonetheless, I'm through with these folks. We move to the last story of the day. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. All right, so which one are we going to do here? We got this one. That's that. We got this one. Okay, we're going to go. All right. So our next story, which is, we're getting into our political segment, and then we're going to close out. There's a lot going on with the Trump administration right now. I'm going to touch on one thing here, which is the South African Americans.
The Americans.
And I don't know if you guys have heard, but Donald Trump has opened his arms and doors and borders to a group of South African farmers who were apparently being racially discriminated against in South Africa. Now, that's interesting to me because, I heard the story behind this, and it seems like that at some point, if not currently, all of the land and industries are owned by white people in South Africa. Now there's an African regime running everything, and they're trying to take some of that land back. And they're apparently not being really nice about it. So to some degree, there's some truth to the fact that they are enduring certain conditions over there. But this lady gets on X And she's a white South African woman. So for those of y'all that didn't know, yes, there are African people that are white. And they sound British for some reason. But this woman got on X and wanted to basically warn the American people about the South Africans that they're taking in. So I wanted to give y'all a chance to take a look at it. Hold on.
This is for the Americans. If you're not an American, feel free to watch, but please try and get it to the Americans. My name is Bianca van Wyk, born in South Africa, live in South Africa. Today you will be welcoming the so-called white Afrikaans refugees. They are there based on an offer made to them, which I must say was informed by this information about South Africa. Now, I've seen a lot of takes on who Americans think they are receiving. Okay, you are not getting successful, professional, white, middle-class South Africans that are fleeing South Africa. The people you are getting are the people that believe that there is discrimination against them based on their race. Keep in mind, we live in the most unequal country in the world. We have, for instance, 70% of agricultural land and agricultural holdings are owned by white South Africans.
Out of 8% of the population, they own 70% of the land as far as farming. That's pretty weird. But okay, I'll let her continue.
62 to 68% of top leadership positions in corporate are filled by white males. There is a huge salary disparity between white South Africans and the rest of the population. And there are a number of other indicators which shows you that this story of discrimination based on race is false. Another thing that I wanted to say is that you will get certain so-called refugees that have experienced crime. However, in South Africa, no one is exempt. These people that you are welcoming assume because they're white, they should not experience crime. The people most affected by crime in South Africa happen to be black people that live in poverty. So as you open your doors and welcome people, and you're going to get a lot of information and disinformation from these people, please do keep that in mind. Oh, I also would like to say all the best and good luck to the Americans.
Well, at least she was respectful with it. So basically, we're taking in some white people that feel like they're being discriminated against in Africa by Africans or black Africans. And so they're going to come over to a country that's known for being nicer to the Caucasians. Now, I don't know what the setup is for their, entry here. Like, are they being given land or whatever? But they're coming to where it's like, if we're going to act like there's no white privilege, this is not how you convince us that white privilege doesn't exist. If white people in another country can say we're going to go to America because they know how to treat their Caucasians over there, then to them, there is a white privilege that they're coming to take advantage of. And even if they sound like this lady, they're going to sound British, so they're still going to get, regular white privilege. If it exists. We say it doesn't exist, but if it did not exist, then why would this be the opinion of why they're coming over here? Okay, so to some degree, it does exist. Because I don't see Trump taking in a bunch of black African farmers who feel like they were discriminated against because of race. Now, I know Elon Musk has a lot to say about all of this because he's a South African dude as well. And everybody wants them to take these folks in, and I'll be honest with you, I don't care. I don't. But I just want it to be heard and stated that the world knows that there is a privilege to fair skin if you live in America. The world knows this. Because they could have gone anywhere else. You know how long it takes to get over here from Africa? They could have gone to England. They could have gone to the UK. They could have gone to a lot of other places. Why here? Why America? Is because in their eyes, in the world's eyes, white people get treated best here. So, interesting kind of situation here. I'm all for helping people in need. So if these people are in need, I think we should help them out. But I think we should make sure that their integration into this society is correct and they don't jump on the side of becoming, because basically they have the potential to become racists in America, and they will be backed by a large group of people instead of being in a country where, or in an area where there's a whole bunch of black people. So yeah, you got the land, but if you act out, these couple thousand black people down the street will come and take over your land, and that's what was happening. Whereas in America, you can't do that. The hood is not coming to take over the suburbs or the farmland. And you can Karen out over here. Like, you could call the police for people grilling. But I agree with you on that one too, Albon. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Just letting them come on over. What's up with that due process shit everybody was talking about? They don't have to fill out nothing? Like, they don't have to go through some line? Like, they just skipped the line. Because there are people who are still working on their citizenship with their green cards and student visas and all this other stuff that are already here working on something. I don't really think that we need to add new farmers over here. But because Elon Musk is from there, that's why they're getting this preferential treatment. That's Elon's folks. You know, Elon is real good friends with the president. You could fill in the rest of the blanks there. So I'm telling you, Al, they're going to be racist as shit. They're going to be coming from a place where everybody else was black but them. So they already felt a certain type of way. Now they're going to come to a place where they make up not 8% of the country, 72% of the country. The empowering nature of this could be dangerous. Now they're going to be saying all the stuff they wish they could have said to the black people in Africa that was messing with them. They're going to be over here using the N-word. They're going to be over here doing all types of stuff, calling the police because they think it's suspicious man is around. See, it's not suspicious to see a black person in the place that's 80% black people. It's suspicious to see a black person in the place where it's 80% white people. That's why you get to call them on that. So, and I know some people are saying, well, they're deporting people and bringing people in to replace them, but I'll venture to say that these Caucasians are not the ones that's going to be doing those low-end jobs that a lot of the deportees were doing. Those, the fruit picking and all that kind of stuff, they're not doing none of that shit. They were farmers, or at least they thought they were, where they came from. And so they're not coming over here to be out in the field all day for $2 a day. They're not going to do all that. They're probably going to get some money. I'm just being honest. I don't know I'm going to look into it to find out what the full setup is, but they're going to get some money. They're definitely going to get some money. And they'll probably get some land. They'll probably get 40 acres and a mule. For what your African people did to you, we're going to give you 40 acres and a mule. So that was the first piece. Like I said, we're in our political segment here. So that was the first piece, was the South Afrikaners. And apparently he's rolling out the red carpet for him. So we'll see where this goes, but I just feel like you're bringing in racist white people because they already have a prejudice against the black people who were in Africa who made them feel this way so that they wanted to come to the U.S. So if you think you're going to get some objective, non-biased folks that have never been in the U.S. before and they see Pookie and Ray Ray walking down the street or whomever when they're out and about as they're getting assimilated to this culture, they're probably going to offend the shit out somebody and get beat up. Just being honest. And you know what? A good question is asked, what do we have to do to get a couple dollars? Well, I will tell you that there is this is an interesting one. I'm just gonna bring it up. I'm just gonna bring it up here. Ted Cruz is trying to get y'all some money. Not y'all, but some of y'all some money. He has proposed a plan to get Americans money by offering to basically invest in the babies. And I'll let you hear his little interview here. Hold on, this is too long. I don't have that kind of time. Where he at in there? Let me see where he's at in the clip. All right, he's in the first part. So we'll let it go to right there. So we got 3 minutes in this clip, okay? So y'all stand by. But basically, Ted Cruz is offering to do $1,000 deposits for every child born in the U.S. into what he would consider like an investment fund, where they basically put in an investment and it appreciates over 18 years, and basically like a trust fund that the kid would have access to when they turn 18. And I'll be honest with you, that's not a bad idea. So that's currently on the table right now with Trump's big, beautiful bill that they're working on, that they were voting on last night. So let's listen to Ted Cruz talk his thing about his thing.
Establish a universal savings account for every American starting at birth. Joining us right now is Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. He's the chairman
Make it
of the Commerce
retroactive.
Committee. Also,
That's
Brad
what they need to
Gerstner,
do.
founder and CEO
Let me get my
of
money.
Alternative Capital. Good morning to both of you, gentlemen. But I want to start with the senator, if I could. We've talked about this with Brad, and I believe we actually talked about it with you as well, Senator. This is now past a new step. Where are we in this? How's it going to work? How much is it going to cost the American public? And how much are young kids, hopefully when they get old, going to get from it all?
Right. Well, this is a very exciting initiative that is moving forward because the House Ways and Means Committee just yesterday released the initial draft of their tax bill, and they included within it the idea, Invest America, that Brad has been working on for years, that Brad and I together have spent over a year working very hard to push it forward. The idea is simple, which is that we're going to create an investment account for every newborn child in America at birth. And that investment account, the federal government will seed with $1,000. But that account can receive every year up to $5,000 in contributions from friends and family members and from employers. And those contributions grow on a tax-deferred basis, and they can take it out after they turn 18. What it does is it takes every child in America and it gives them, number one, the miracle of compound growth, the ability to accumulate wealth, which is transformational. But number two, it makes them stakeholders. It gives them a stake in the American free enterprise system. And you asked how much they can save. If you have a baby that is born this year that starts with the initial $1,000 seed contribution over the next 18 years, if $5,000 a year is contributed at 7% growth, by the time they're 18, they have $170,000 in this account. By the time they're 35, they have $700,000 in the account. So I believe.
Hold on a second now. He said 35, but we said you're going to have access at 18. So why would you have to leave it in there till you're 35? I guess if you want to keep it there till you're 35, you can. But I'm just going to start. I don't hate this idea. I don't. But I guess it comes down to how much the American taxpayer has to pay for it, with the federal government putting in a $1,000 seed. Now, granted, there's going to be some gray area of what happens if, let's say, the child makes it to 17 years old and passes away. Or if, you know, the child has some debilitating disease early on in life, so they become, you know, basically fully disabled. Does that change what they're able to do? I don't know. But I'm being honest. I don't hate it. I ain't no Republican. I'm an American. So I look at things the way that you're supposed to look at them. Objectively, what's the benefit? How much it's going to cost? It doesn't matter if I hate Trump. It doesn't matter if I don't like Ted Cruz. What does matter is if kids at 18 could have, what do you say, $170,000 available as a nugget to possibly buy a house or invest in their higher education, not end up with college debt. Like, this would be a benefit, a net positive for our economy. And anybody that thinks different, please debate me as to why that would be different. But if you invested in every child born and let that investment build up over years, and you know what they're going to do with it. They'll be borrowing against it while it's building. That's how they do with that, with loans and interest and things like that. They'll borrow against your kid's life while they're under 18. Then when they get over 18, they'll have the option of either leaving it in there to continue to grow. They can take an early disbursement or withdrawal, whatever. It'll work. It's the stock market is what they're investing in. But to be more specific, it's the crypto market that he's really trying to get into. I don't really think he's going to say that in this interview, but I did look into it a little bit, and he's talking about more or less a $1,000 investment into crypto and new business. So that would be AI, New businesses doing technology and AI would be what the mutual funds are covering. And so these numbers would then become money that they can borrow against, the U.S. government can borrow against, and invest and reinvest in things within America. So instead of letting you have $1,000 for your kid's getting $1,000, but you're not getting it. The government's now putting it in a bank so that they can borrow against it when they're dealing with other countries. So there's that negative, but as long as the kid gets what they're promised, I don't see anything wrong with this idea. Because it's money. Money is a resource. You take money and you do stuff with it. Money cannot buy you happiness, but it can buy you stuff that makes you happy. Okay? So they could invest in higher education. They could invest in a house. Now, granted, there's going to be a set of kids that'll just splurge it and go buy a boat or something goofy like that, or just, but maybe if they have some oversight in it and that it can only be used for things to further their life in the economy, like for a house, for a college. It could sit there like Ascending Phoenix. Thanks for stopping in. It could sit there until you retire. You'll be a freaking millionaire. They said by 35, you'd have $700,000. So imagine you let it keep sitting there and you retire at, let's say, 50, a millionaire. So basically, every kid could retire at 50 as a millionaire that's born under this new act. So that's why I'm saying, hey, can I get my money if y'all pass this? Like, I'm not saying that don't give it to the new babies, but some of us were babies first and we didn't get nothing. So, you can just hook us up. And we made the new babies that you're going to give to. So we should get a little payment for that. We got the new babies. You can now use the babies to borrow against. And there you go. So I'm going to let him finish his little statement here, but it's open to contributions from family members and other people. So you can send money directly to it, like how grandma used to put something away for your college fund. I know I have a Maryland 529 for one of my kids that appreciates pretty well. But if it would have started when he was born, then that would have been awesome. Then I would be, I wouldn't be worrying about college debt. Like, this would really be a good thing for the American people. And
this will be a transformational policy. It's something Brad has built a big community of leaders throughout the business community who are enthusiastically supporting it. I've been pitching it to my colleagues in the Senate, my colleagues in the House, to the president, and I think we're going to get it done. And yesterday's House bill was a big, big step forward.
Senator, before I get to Brad, do you think long-term this would change potentially even Social Security?
That's a good question.
I don't know. It is obviously not aimed at the end of life. It's not aimed at retirees. It's aimed at babies. It's aimed at children. And the way you pitched it, Andrew, is the right way to think about it. It's a 401k for kids. And think about how 401ks have changed our society.
Kids.
One of the really powerful things is I think a lot of employers, when this is passed, will find it a very attractive benefit to give to their employees to say, hey, we're going to match your contributions to these investment accounts for your kids, or we're even going to seed them, just like they do with 401ks. And so I think the impact, look, by the time a newborn child is on Social Security, all of us likely will be dead. We'll let a Congress 70 years from now worry about that. What I'm interested in is giving these kids the ability to climb the economic ladder much, much faster, to accumulate wealth. And I think there's a real power to making them investors and stakeholders in the economy, so that a 10-year-old can pull out an app on his phone and say, hey, look, I own $50 worth of Apple. I own $75 worth of Boeing. I own $30 of McDonald's. I go into a McDonald's. I'm an owner of McDonald's. That changes, I think, a young person's atttage when they're a stakeholder in our free market system.
I hate to say I like
hey, Brad,
this idea.
Congratulations. I know this has been a long time coming. How much is it going to cost on an annual basis?
Well, it's great to be here today. I'm live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where I'm helping David Sachs and others evangelize about accelerating American AI in the region. And so it's great to be here with you. When you think about this, the leadership that Ted's providing and the House Ways and Means team has provided in putting this in the legislation is absolutely critical. 3.7 million children are born in the U.S. every year. If you seed them all with $1,000 in the S&P 500, that's $3.7 billion a year, Andrew. That's less than the cost of a single weapon system that we have in our military. So it's a tiny amount of money to get every child in America in the game, to unlock the potential. The president talks about his Main Street agenda. This is every town, every urban block in America, every child in America And so we think this is a major step forward. You just heard from the senator. His leadership was absolutely critical to get this on the agenda. And so we're just absolutely thrilled to see it in the first draft from the House. Thanks goes out to the Speaker and to Jason Smith, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. But we got a long way to go. And, as he said, this is a private sector program, 3.7 million private accounts. And we have CEOs over here in Riyadh right now, Jensen Huang, Dara Khosrowshahi, who have all signed up. They will add to the accounts of the children of their employees when we get these accounts set up. So the government's doing what it does well. It's getting it catalyzed and then getting out of the way and letting the private sector, the upside of the American economy, really drive this program.
And in terms of...
Wow. So if y'all don't see the list here, these are the businesses who have decided that they would offer this to their employees to contribute to this through their employees. And they got AMD, which is, that's the graphics card I'm using right now is an AMD. We've got Zillow, Salesforce, Uber, ServiceNow, the Heritage Group. Now we know who the Heritage Group is. That's Trump's folks. They did Project 2025. Robinhood, which I think is an investment platform. SoFi and whatever other Southern Co, whatever that means. So it looks like the businesses are behind it. And guys, like I said, it's a net positive. Donald J. Plump, thanks for stopping in the chat there. We have no problem with this idea. Our personal feelings about Ted Cruz, not a big Cruz fan myself, just saying. But I like this idea. And I like the fact that it's already made it past one segment of the voting. So it's already in progress to actually happen. Now, granted, there's going to be a lot of Americans that are going to be like, screw the kids, give me $1,000. You know what I'm saying? Let the adults have it. And then we can provide better for the kids that you're talking about. There's going to be people like that. And they have a valid point as well. Everybody needs some money. Okay? Well, not everybody. There's some rich people out there that are like, what do I need money for? I got money. But 99% of the population, or at least 90% of the population, would love to have an investment made for them that would appreciate over 10 to 15 years that they could remove. So it could be something that you do on the back end for the retirees. Like once you get to, let's say, age 35, the opposite end of it. They started for people that are 35 and over at a different rate to help with retiring. Because a lot of people are retirement age in their 70s, but they're still working because the money that they got into retirement through Social Security is not enough to maintain the lifestyle that they were able to achieve while they were working. You see what I'm saying? So if you were working and you were making six figures and you were getting that money every month, when you retire, they don't give you six figures worth of money every year. They give you a set amount that's it. You can't get no more. You might get less depending on if you start working and stuff like that. So Social Security is already jacked up. If we could get it to a point where everybody could reasonably retire at 60 years old, everyone. So let's say you either started the fund when you were a baby, you got it up to your 18, now you got some money to do some things with, and you can now move into the population and be more productive, and you'll be fine when you're 60. And then the people that's 35 and up now, put a little investment into them, get those folks so that they can retire when they're 60 years old. I think this is a great idea. I just think they need to expand it a little bit to like more people than just the babies. Donald J. Plump in here with the receipts. His name is Rafael Cruz. Also true. Still doesn't make this a bad idea, though. How do you feel about the idea, Donald J. Plump? I see how you feel about Mr. Rafael Cruz, but like really, honestly, how do you feel about America investing in American children and using those investments to grow the economy over the course of the next 10, 15, 20 years? Me personally, think it's a good idea. I want to see where it goes. We'll see if it looks like right now, like I said, it passed the House. So it's going to the Senate, and it's all part of Trump's big, beautiful bill. Y'all remember him talking about that big, beautiful bill that he's been saying that he wanted them working on for months? So this is apparently part of it. But as good as I think this idea is, it's been overshadowed by Trump getting a gift from the Qatari government and the Saudis, right? So I'm going to get into that, and then we're going to get out of here because this is our last story. But I had to do our politics thing. So we got the good. The good was this Invest America Act. I think it's a net positive for the economy. I think if they do it right, it would be beneficial.
This is a move that is already...
But this one is a little bit different, okay? So for those who are critics of the Trump administration, this was definitely not a good look for them. Not for the critics, but for the Trump administration, specifically because he received a gift worth over $400 million. Now, he said he received it on behalf of the country, but there's a little bit to be desired by that, and a lot of people are calling foul because they feel like, who gives anybody that kind of money, that kind of gift, unless there's something like a negotiation going on. Nobody just gives away something like that for free, like with nothing in return because they like you. Hell no. So I'm waiting to see what that really means. As a matter of fact, I already know what it means. There was a handshake. Hey, I'm going to look out for y'all. We're going to do X, Y, Z. It's already been dealt with. And he was like, look, I don't like this plane I'm in. Y'all got a plane over there that y'all not using that I saw. It's a Palace. What's up with that plane? And they were like, hey, man, we got 2 of them. You want one? And so they're giving them a plane worth $400 million. Corruption or just a great gift to the country? It all depends on perspective, but we'll let ABC News do their little story on it. So check this out.
Already raising serious ethical, legal, and national security questions. But the Trump administration is poised to accept that luxury jumbo jet, which has a value estimated at $400 million, as a gift from the government of Qatar. Sources familiar with the proposal say that the aircraft would be used by President Trump as a new Air Force One and then transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation shortly before he leaves office. It would likely be the most valuable gift ever given to the U.S. government from a foreign power. Multiple sources familiar with the proposal say this is the airplane, a 13-year-old Boeing 747-8, known as a Flying Palace. It was toured by Trump himself back in February. The aircraft is larger and significantly more luxurious than...
I'm going to pause it right there. You heard he went and saw it in February. That means that they were talking about it in February. They worked out something. I have yet to see what it is, because I was under the impression we were still beefing with the Middle East. I thought they didn't like Trump or didn't like America. But it turns out that Trump is like the only president to ever go over there. So $400 million plane, what? Because he saw it, he would call him up. Hey, man, what y'all doing with that plane, bro? It's not a gift for America because Americans don't get to fly around in it. Now, maybe it'll be a gift for America when it ends up in a museum in a couple of years, because that's the other part of it is he's not going to be able to use it outside of being the president. And because of the value of the gift, they can't really keep it. So I don't even understand what the point is. But I'm telling you, there's some backdoor deals, pause. There's definitely some back room, back office deals behind this. They're trying to make it, it's just a gift, like he bought you a freaking Reese cup. This is a $400 million plane that's already paid for. All you got to do is put some gas in that joint and it's ready to fly. And you want me, as the regular person, to think that there wasn't some other negotiation that included this plane? We'll see. We'll see, because he's real nice with them folks over there. They rolled out the red carpet for that man when he visited. I don't know if he's back yet, but he goes over there to visit. They rolled out the red carpet for Trump. That means that they like something that he's already said to them or done for them. And like Donald J. Plump put in the chat, we know that there's funding going in all types of different directions. Hamas is funded by Qatar. We don't know what's going on with the Middle East, but I thought we was beefing. So how are we getting $400 million gifts and the president's getting the red carpet rolled out for him and military jet escorting him in as they got into Qatar airspace? They made it look regal, like they were bringing the damn Pope in there. And I thought they hated us. So there's a problem that it doesn't fit the narrative for me. These guys were, like, I've watched the interaction. I was like, these guys were really impressed that the president was there. Like he was the shit. Excuse my language. But I'm thinking they would have been setting him up to be assassinated over there from what I heard. I thought it was kill the infidels. Whatever. Starting to smell like bullshit, though. I'll say that.
Than the current Air Force One, an older version.
Look at this. Look at this. Look, they're going to show this crappy Air Force One. This should look like a Spirit flight compared to that other joint. You see that?
Of the 747 that has been in operation since 1990. The Qatari plane has 2 fully furnished floors, complete with plush carpet, leather couches, and 2 bedrooms. The plane's current value is estimated at $400 million, but it will need millions more worth of modifications to meet the Air Force requirements to operate as the presidential aircraft.
It raises many, many eyebrows to have this sort of deal at all.
This guy's got smegma on his lip. I hate when people get smegma on the lip and it starts like catching when they're talking and it creates the little line. Oh my God. I'm going to try to get through it. I'll try to get through it.
To be accepting Air Force One from a foreign government.
Under the terms of the proposed gift, sources tell ABC, the plane would be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation no later than January 1st, 2029. That's shortly before Trump leaves office. The Constitution prohibits anyone holding federal office from accepting a personal gift from a foreign head of state. But sources say Attorney General Pam Bondi has concluded that this gift is, quote, legally permissible because the plane is not being given to an individual, but rather to the U.S. Air Force and then to Donald Trump's foundation. Democrats are calling the proposed gift illegal.
Hold up. Donald Trump's foundation is not considered an individual. So the Trump library that is being built will house this plane after he leaves office. So as nice as this plane is going to be, no other president will get to use it except for Trump. So how's that not a personal gift? I don't know. Well, I do know. It's called legal loopholes and word salad and bullshit. That's what that is. And, you know, Pam Bondi is going to twist whatever she needs to as far as the legality of it. Like, who's going to do, what you going to do? You going to press charges? Guys in the Purge Collective, are we going to press charges on Trump for receiving this? Are we going to put in articles of impeachment for him receiving this? No. So I'm past the plane itself. I'm at the why. And not the YMCA. I'm at the why the hell would anybody give anybody a $400 million plane? If they don't like them, and if they are to give them a $400 million plane, that means they like them a lot. So why do they like him so much? Is it because he's allowing funding to go into places that it shouldn't be going? There's more to it than just, I like the guy, I'm going to give him a $400 million plane. And if there wasn't a threat on the U.S. side, if you don't give us that plane, we're going to come take it or blow something up, and you're giving it as a gift, why do you feel that this person deserves this gift? What have they done to earn this gift? Were they on the naughty list or the nice list? How do you earn a $400 million gift? You know how you earn a $400 million gift? By making sure somebody gets billions in return. So I don't know what it is specifically, but that's what it is. This ain't coming over here for free, so he can just go around in it. No. No, there was a trade deal or some deal on the table, and this was part of the collateral. And that's why the plane is coming over, and that's why only Trump will get to use the plane, and then after that, it goes into a library. That's why they didn't give it to the Trump administration. They gave it to the U.S. Air Force. So it's the property of the U.S. military, not the property of Donald Trump. Legal loopholes, jargon, and bullshit. I know how it smells, and that's what it is. So we can't get around that, guys. He's going to be able to take this stupid-ass plane and fly it around. He's probably going to, all of the news folks that get to do the Air Force One trip, they'll now be in this new joint. They're probably going to have a Cribs episode about this freaking plane. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. They tried to get me with the $1,000 for the babies, but I need to know the why on this plane. And he keeps saying it's a gift to the American people. Well, what, are we going to scrap it and take the money and give it to the American people? Because other than that, I don't see the value in it. So I'm going to let them finish their little story. And then
illegal and are demanding an investigation.
Yeah.
I don't know who needs to hear this. Senator Bernie Sanders posted on X. But no, Donald Trump cannot accept a $400 million flying palace from the royal family of Qatar. Not only is this farcically corrupt, it is blatantly unconstitutional.
Was I saying it wrong? Is it Qatar? I thought it was Qatar. All this time it was Qatar? You know what? I like Qatar better. Qatar sounds stupid. But
response to the outcry, Trump confirmed he plans to accept the airplane,
he's
calling
taking
it,
that
quote,
plane.
a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One, temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction.
In addition to the obvious ethical concerns, there are significant national security concerns about this, about using a plane given by a foreign government as Air Force One. Qatar is considered an American ally, but it is also an ally of Iran and China and even Hamas. The massive plane would need to be thoroughly vetted for listening devices and tracking devices that can be incredibly small and hidden just about anywhere on that massive air.
First of all, it's a plane. It's a plane, guys. Meaning, it's going to be tracked. It's a damn plane. So, yeah, there's a tracker on that damn thing. There's a couple of them. There's all types of stuff. There's satellite shit on top. They're going to have to basically strip the whole plane down. But what do you do? Let's say that they do find a tracking device that ain't supposed to be there. Are they going to give the plane back, or are they just going to take the tracking device out of it and just keep the plane? Is it a security risk? It could be. It could be a Trojan horse. They could send the thing over here loaded with explosives, and as soon as it touches down, it blows up on the tarmac. I don't know. Set off a whole nuclear bomb. But I will say right now, I don't think that's going to happen either, because you know what will happen if they do that? Scorched earth over there. So I don't believe that. I don't believe that it's being used for nefarious purposes, the plane itself. I think the plane's going to be clean. Because if you find something in the plane, now we don't like y'all again. Now we beefing again. You were trying to blow up the president or whatever. So I don't think that's what they're going to do. Nope. They don't need to put nothing extra in it. It's a plane. It has devices on it for tracking, so it knows where to land and what altitude. And so, of course, there's going to be tracking devices on the plane. It's a Boeing plane, by the way. And you know what? Boeing planes have been having some trouble lately. So this newfound partnership between Qatar, or Qatar as I call it, and the Trump administration seems to be very surprising to a lot of people. And it's because they were under the impression that we was beefing. So, but looking at letting y'all look at some of the footage here from his visit. He's visiting U.S. troops in Qatar. He's being well received by them. In addition to that, the Crown Prince seems to be... Oh, let me cut that off here. This is them saying goodbye to him. Look at the dude's face. Can you see his face? Where's all the evil henchmen I'm looking for? These guys are friends. These not friends of mine. Friends of Trump. Good friends. Didn't just meet in February friends. He's been traveling over there. He's been talking to them. That's why they're dealing with the golf course they're putting over there. They're giving them a $5 million golf course over there. So let's just disperse with the hype about us beefing with the Saudis all the time. Because these folks are rolling out the red carpet and they're giving this man a $400 million jet just because, according to them, because they like him, I guess. But this is supposed to be our enemy. This is a foreign nation in power that's supposed to be somewhat destructive, dangerous, and violent. And we're accepting gifts, and they're hugging them and all this other stuff as if they've been buddies for years. And I would suffice to say, like, look at this. This is not what you do when your enemy is showing up. You start brightening your streets with the American flag in a foreign country. You don't do these things. So how close are these friends is the question. How close are these friends? Look at these guys. They look like enemies to you. Look at them. See this shit. He's got a pin. So what are they doing? What are they doing here? Okay, so they did a deal. $1.2 trillion deal in Qatar. And they got the plane. All right, let's see what we did here. $2 billion trade surplus with Qatar. $3.3 billion Qatar investment in the U.S. and 20 plus years of a positive trade balance. $600 billion to Saudi Arabia and American jobs. So I don't know what jobs they had that they were doing over there that now are going to be done in America, but they bought 160 Boeing planes.
Now,
let's see. Let's run this clip and then we're going to get out of here. I just want y'all to pay attention, man. Like I said, they'll give us a narrative that we're supposed to be fighting these people and shit. And these guys are buddies. Good buddies. Like, good buddies. Like I said, why would you give somebody a $400 million plane if you don't like them? Unless there was some threat involved, which I do not believe there was. From the looks on them people's faces, guys are buddies. So this is Trump in here with another prince or whoever the hell.
we will see the signing of the agreement of buying aircraft from Boeing. His Excellency Badr bin Abdul Amir will sign from the Qatari side, and Kelly Ortberg will be signing on behalf of Boeing.
All right, man, just get to it. Look at these smiles. Y'all see this shit? Look at the faces. Let me make sure y'all can see these guys. The guy on the left right here, super grin. Trump over here. Look at this dude in the middle. These are not this is not enemies sitting next to each other. There was more tension between Zelensky and Trump than there is between this guy. We're supposed to have been fighting these people for years. Peace in the Middle East. Remember all that shit? Why we got bases over there. They were holding the oil. They were making the oil prices messed up. That's what I thought. Supposed to be enemies. Y'all are friendly as shit. Too friendly. I ain't gonna lie, man. I am not gonna lie on this one.
I smell bullshit.
I smell it. I'm gonna say it to him again. I smell it, boy.
I smell bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Y'all hear it? Where's the audio? You don't want us to hear what they're saying. Okay, fine. So, very nice over there. I ain't gonna lie, it looks beautiful. And so this part right here is what I wanted y'all to just hear this guy say.
We're extremely honored to have you here. We're very
extremely honored to have you here.
It's a historic visit. And I don't know if you know that you are the first American president to officially to visit Qatar. Right?
First American president to officially visit Qatar. Now, I don't know if y'all can see it, but this guy's got sandals on. Are we going to get on his outfit? No, we're not. But yeah, this dude is honored. Honored. You're not honored by your enemy's presidents. They've been feeding us a load. They've been feeding us a load for a minute. These guys been cutting deals in the back room, man. Been cutting deals. See what I'm saying? He riding in the car with them. They all in the back, curtains up. I'm done. They've been lying to y'all, man. These is buddies. You are not going to give me no $400 million plane. You are not going to let me build a $5 billion golf course in my name. You're not going to be flying the U.S. flag, coloring the buildings with lights because I'm showing up if we the enemies. Maybe the consumer is the enemy because we want lower prices on stuff. But Trump and the Saudis are well into their business bed. They're at the point where they are in spooning positions in the bed of business. And look at this. They got the folks. They probably in there talking about, look at that crappy plane you about to get on, man. Wait till I send you this other joint. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I feel you, Albon. They just got over. And we don't see it. We don't see it. We're not in there to see what exactly was really going on. We got to see the TV version of it. But from the TV version, I can tell y'all right now, a super huge deal just got made. And we are going to feel it, whether good or bad. A deal just got made. So what Boeing got? Why are you buying Boeing planes? Boeing planes been having some issues lately. I wouldn't want to buy no Boeing planes right now. If we could get through a month without something crashing, that'd be great. But why would you buy 160 Boeing planes? Because you just invested in Boeing, which is an American company. So you just put money into the American economy. He's buying his way right on in. I don't know, guys. This one is bothering me only because I've been under the impression for years that we're supposed to be enemies with these folks. Now all of a sudden we're getting planes from them and they're buying a bunch of U.S. stuff. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. And you're right, Al. They got over. So we don't have much that we can do about it. We just got to sit there and wait and see what happens. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait and see what happens. But I'm going to tell you right now, just like I said before, guys.
I smell bullshit.
Okay? So with that, let me get to my shout-outs. Let me get up out of here. I got shit to do. You know, the funny part is I don't think the internet is going to have as much of a field day with it as they should. Because they don't want you to think that they're doing what they're obviously doing. They want you to think that we got enemies and all this kind of stuff and we're getting ready to go to nuclear war and whatever, what have you. And they're blowing up and burning their gas fields. And, man, all of those guys are connected. Hamas and the Houthis and all these guys, man, these guys are all in bed with each other in full-blown spoon positions. None of them can be trusted. Anytime you make a deal that's that big and you're just throwing money around like that, can't trust these guys, man. But, like I said, I will always remain in the position of objectivity, but I do not like the fact that they have allowed us to sit here and think that we were enemies with these folks, and Trump goes over there and they literally rolled out the red carpet for him and said, we are honored to have you here. That means something. So you can hate Trump all you want, for those that do. I will say this. He's cutting deals. Stuff is happening. What it's going to do to benefit the American people still remains to be seen. I did hear the thing about the $1,000 for the babies. I like that idea. I hope they continue with that. But there's a lot of way more important backroom situations going on that we are not privy to and will never be privy to. But I'm going to tell you right now, Qatar, the Saudis, the Middle East, that is not the enemy. That is Trump's buddies in business. These guys got millions and billions of dollars. They're throwing around. I can't buy one plane, let alone 160 Boeing planes, and then also give away another $400 million Boeing plane. These are astronomical numbers that these people are just throwing around. So if you think the little guy like us has any control over what people who can throw around astronomical numbers like that, we don't have any control over them. We are the borrowing system. We are the cattle that they borrow against. Our livelihood creates the taxes that they use to make deals. So we are just an energy source and a resource for borrowing. And they are borrowing enough that they're making intense international trade deals. That's a huge deal. You know how much money that is? 160 planes and a $400 million plane to boot, and then investing another however many $1 billion. They're definitely getting something in return. And what is that? I don't know. And I don't think we're ever going to know. And you know what, Sebastian, just to thank you for your comment regarding that. You could say the same about his relationship with Putin, but I don't believe that to the same degree. I do believe they're a little too buddy-buddy, but he always acted like they were buddies. You see what I'm saying? Like we never thought that him and Putin weren't buddies. Like he might have said, well, I'm not his best friend, but he always regarded him as a guy with, a strong work ethic or whatever. But he never really was super disrespectful to Putin. So I don't feel like he was baiting and switching with that. I think people just thought that we were supposed to be beefing with Russia because we've been beefing with Russia according to the Cold War since the 80s? And then we started talking to Zelensky and them. So yeah, there's a little bit of gray area there. But I do see what you're saying. But I'm more worried about the Saudi relationship with the U.S. Because remember, doesn't heroin and stuff come from that group? Isn't that where that comes from? That crew? I mean, we've been focused on meth in Canada and Mexico, but I'm pretty sure Afghanistan and all of them folks, their main export is freaking poppy seeds that make heroin. So I don't trust those guys. Maybe the American propaganda got me. Maybe after watching them buildings fall in 9/11, maybe I feel a certain type of way. Maybe. But something about this does not sit right with me. And I don't know what it is yet. I'll figure it out in a little bit. But right now, yeah, they bought some planes. Yeah, they gave them a plane. All right, it's a little annoying. Not sure about the ethics of it. But at the end of the day, it's not changing the price of gas, which is what I want. So if that becomes the result of it, then okay, net positive. Gas price goes down, everybody's happy. All right, have your little freaking plane. But if there's no real world translation of this, then it's just bullshit. If the only people that are making out is Boeing, because that's who got the planes bought, and Trump is getting the golf course in Qatar, that's his thing. It has nothing to do with the American people. We can't fly on the plane that he got, so that doesn't have nothing to do with the American people. So right now, I don't see where the real America First piece is, unless there's something in them deals other than the Boeing thing. And like I said, I got to look into it. But you see what I'm saying? It just, I don't know. And I hear everybody, it's unethical, it's fraud, we're going to impeach him. Let's not do all that just yet. Let's follow the money and see what it's really about before you start talking this surface shit and have Sri Tanadar back out here talking about impeaching Trump again. Let's not, no. Before we jump into that and waste time with that case, let's actually figure out what the hell's going on. Like, he wasn't there by himself. Trump did not travel there by himself, but in all of these shots, he seems to be by himself. Meaning the stuff they're talking about, except for that one shot where the other guy was signing some shit, he's talking to people by himself. That is not necessarily on the behalf of the American people. That's on the behalf of Trump and to whatever degree he wants to benefit the American people. But we need to watch out. We need to be very vigilant right now about how this stuff is really happening. How are these countries all over the world fueling the drugs in America? And we're doing business deals with them after saying that's where heroin comes from. It sounds confusing, don't it? So we want to stop drugs, but we also want to be cool with the people who are the number one manufacturers of drugs and terrorism. Now, I don't know the Crown Prince and them folks, and I'm sure they showed Trump a good time. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they pulled out all the stops for him. But the question to me is, have we even really been beefing with them like we was saying we was beefing with them? If this is where they at. All I'm saying. Watch it be. It's going to go back to heroin again. Meth is like in the country. They always talking about it's coming in from. So no, people have meth labs right in good old Kansas and in South Carolina, in every state. Maybe not one of the Dakotas, North and South Dakota. Doesn't look like a meth town to me up there. But I'm pretty sure all the other ones that have urban areas, it's all made in-house. So they're lying to us, guys. All this shit comes from here. All of it. It's all manufactured here. We're doing it. We're moving it around our own country. And then we find a guy to blame it on that's non-governmental. And we say, oh, this guy has 100 and something kilos or something. How the hell did he travel with all that? Because you don't start with that. You end up with 100 something kilos. You don't start like you're drug dealing with that. So how in the world can we try to act like all of our enemies are foreign when the person I have to worry the most about in America is unfortunately somebody that looks just like me? Tough pill to swallow. Tough pill to swallow. No pun intended on the pill to swallow thing, because we're talking about meth and oxys and all that kind of stuff. But come on, man. It's all a ruse. It is. Screw that plane. I don't care about that plane. I don't care if he keeps the fucking plane. It makes me never mind. Gas. Down. Checks. Cut. Jobs increasing. Interest rates lower. See how basic my shit is? All this other stuff is just the cinema. And it was good cinema. But it did put some things in perspective for me about our so-called relationship with the Middle East that I thought was so volatile. Turns out it's not really volatile at all. And they just make us think that so that we go ahead and vote for people who want to add more to our defense budget. That's it. That's it. Right now, I want everything to come down in cost, and then maybe I'll say that something's happened. But up until now, the only thing that has actually happened is the Gulf of Mexico was renamed to the Gulf of America. Everything else is just chatterboxing. And I'm sick of the chatterboxing. I'm sick of worrying about whether or not he got this plane, if it's ethical or not, whatever. Y'all been insider trading from Congress for the last 50 freaking years. Now you want to be mad because nobody else gets to use the plane? Because I think that's what it's about. If everybody could use the damn thing, they'd probably be like, oh, it's a wonderful gift. We get to fly in it, and Congress gets to fly in it, and da-da-da. Nope. Only Trump's administration will get to fly in it, and whatever press people he allows. And then when his term is up, it goes to a museum, and it'll probably become a restaurant. You know, the Air Force One restaurant or whatever they're going to call it. And that's it. And that'll be the end of it. And none of us will have seen a cent from it. And it'll just be old news. So let's not focus too much on the plane itself and focus on what is really going on. that Trump's friendship is worth a $400 million plane and billions and billions of dollars in investment into America that they're supposed to hate. Why would they invest in the place they hate? We know what it is. We know what it is. It's about that money. And before I get out of here, though, I do want to give my special shouts to Al Bond. I see you in the chat, man. I don't think he's going to pardon Diddy. I think Diddy's going to just... I don't know what Diddy's going to go to jail for. I think they charged him for the wrong things, but we're going to cover the Diddy this week in Diddy on the Saturday show when I have my guest panel on. So we're going to go over some of the developments, if you want to call it, in the Diddy situation. But as far as our current presidential situation, I think there's some smoke, and we need to investigate it. But I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be old news, and we'll be looking for tax cuts, which are supposed to be continuing. So let's do that, guys. Pay attention. They are in the process of passing a bill right now, the big, beautiful bill. And included in that is the thing about giving the kids $1,000 or the babies $1,000 to invest. So I'm going to see what else is in there, because I did get a notification about that there's a bunch more things in it that I need to look into. So I'm gonna look into it, and we'll come back and cover it. But before I get out of here, I just got to give my special shouts out to oh shoot, my soundboard is down. Let me bring it up. So special shouts to Al Bond, my sergeant at arms in the chat, the Purge Collective, everybody who was in there. Thank y'all for stopping in as well. That gong is for y'all. And we've got, let's see, Ascending Phoenix. I hadn't seen you in a while. Glad to have you come back. Sebastian Polega, but I'll go with Polega. Thank you for stopping in the chat as well. And anybody else, Donald J. Plump, I know you came through for a second. The PR boy came through for a minute. Who else we had in here? Big Shid 215. He came through for a minute. He or she. I don't know who Big Shid is. It could be a woman, could be a man, but we'll see. And Tough Luck 65, who also stopped through as well. That gong is for you. So everybody else, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you come back for the next show. On Saturday, I will have my guest panel on, including Sonny Bricks, Mr. Bravo. Genesis will be back. And I got a very special guest for everybody as well who will be making an appearance that day. So you guys will have to tune into the Saturday show to find out who the special guest is. But we're going to be going over the Diddy trial. We're going to be going over the concept that stupid people have an easier time at life. That's an interesting one. But we're going to go over it, and we're going to have a bunch of different opinions coming from multiple generations. I think it's going to be a great conversation. So you guys make sure that you tune in for it. Hit the notifications. It'll be up by tomorrow. It'll be at least in the algorithm. You might have to hit the notify me thing to make sure that you come for it. But it is 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Make sure you're back on this channel, because there's no point in coming around and just being here once. You have to consistently purge the BS, because there's so much BS to be purged. And to be honest, if you're afraid of purging, then that, my friends, is the bullshit. And I'm out.